Did you know that 55% of communication is body language and only 7% is actual words? Have you ever noticed how some people seem to get nervous around you for no apparent reason? Maybe they start talking faster, avoid eye contact, or suddenly become overly polite, even though you haven't said or done anything remotely threatening. You're just standing there being yourself, but somehow your presence is making them uncomfortable in ways you can't quite understand. This happens to Sigma males all the time, and the weird part is they usually have no idea they're having this effect on people. See, Sigma males are naturally independent people who don't need constant validation or approval from others to feel good about themselves. They trust their own instincts and make their own rules. That's why they move through life in a way most people don't expect. Because they're so comfortable being alone and don't feel the need to impress anyone, they often come across as mysteriously confident in a way that makes others feel insecure about their own need for acceptance. They're not trying to be intimidating or make anyone feel uncomfortable. They're just existing naturally. But their self-contained energy creates this unspoken tension that people can feel but can't quite explain. Here are 8 ways Sigma males unknowingly intimidate people. Number 1. They're dangerous to people who crave control. Control freaks exist in every workplace, friend group, and family. These are the people who need to know where everyone stands, who's doing what, and exactly how the social hierarchy works. They feel safe when they can predict how others will react and uncomfortable when someone doesn't follow their unspoken rules. Enter a Sigma male, and suddenly their whole system breaks down. While everyone else is either competing for the top spot or accepting their place in the pecking order, the Sigma simply opts out of the entire game. He doesn't challenge the overbearing manager directly, which would be expected, and he doesn't submit either, which would be comfortable. Instead, he just exists outside the whole system. This creates massive anxiety for people who need control because Sigma males are unpredictable in the best possible way. You can't bribe them with status, threaten them with social rejection, or manipulate them with guilt because they genuinely don't care about those things. They make their own decisions based on their own values, and no amount of social pressure seems to change that. What really drives bossy types crazy is how effortless this independence looks. While they're working overtime to manage everyone's opinions and reactions, Sigma males are just living their lives without checking in with anyone. The control freak realizes they have no power over this person, and that realization feels like losing control of everything. The Sigma isn't trying to threaten anyone's authority, but their natural freedom makes everyone else's need for control look exhausting and unnecessary. Number 2. They're the truth everyone avoids confronting. Every group has unspoken truths that everyone knows, but nobody mentions. Maybe it's that one person who takes credit for other people's work, or the friend who only calls when they need something, or the family member who creates drama at every gathering. People see these patterns clearly but stay quiet to keep the peace. Sigma males have this uncomfortable habit of acknowledging reality without making a big deal about it. They don't stage interventions or call people out publicly, but they also won't pretend obvious problems don't exist. When the office slacker misses another deadline, the Sigma might casually mention that maybe the project needs someone more reliable. When the attention-seeking friend starts another crisis, the Sigma simply doesn't offer the expected sympathy. This matter-of-fact approach to truth makes everyone else feel like they're living in denial. People start questioning why they've been tiptoeing around obvious issues and making excuses for behavior they know is wrong. The Sigma becomes a mirror that reflects back all the uncomfortable realities everyone has been avoiding. What makes this quite intimidating is how calm Sigma males stay when acknowledging difficult truths. They're not angry or judgmental, they just refuse to participate in group delusions. This makes their observations feel more credible and harder to dismiss. When someone emotionally points out a problem, people can write it off as drama. When a Sigma calmly states the same problem, it becomes impossible to ignore. He forces everyone to either address the truth or admit they're choosing comfort over honesty. Number 3. They silence critics by simply not responding. Most people feel compelled to defend themselves when criticized, even when the criticism is unfair or comes from someone whose opinion shouldn't matter. The natural response is to argue back, explain yourself, or prove the critic wrong. This creates a cycle where critics get the attention and reaction they're looking for. But what happens when someone criticizes a Sigma male? Nothing. The Sigma listens, processes whether the criticism has merit, and then simply moves on with his life. If the criticism is valid, he might make changes quietly. If it's not, he ignores it completely. No arguing, no explaining, no emotional reaction whatsoever. This non-response is absolutely devastating to people who criticize others for attention or control. Critics expect either anger, which proves they got under your skin, or excessive explaining, which shows they have power over you. When they get neither, they're left feeling foolish and irrelevant. The silence makes their criticism hang in the air with no energy feeding it. Doing this intimidates others because it exposes how vulnerable they are when scrambling to defend themselves. Watching someone take criticism calmly makes their own defensive outbursts seem weak and exhausting. The Sigma isn't trying to make anyone look bad, but his natural confidence in ignoring irrelevant opinions highlights how insecure everyone else's need to defend themselves appears. Critics start avoiding Sigma males because criticism without reaction is no fun at all. Number 4. They don't need permission to be themselves. Most people check with others before making changes to their appearance, lifestyle, or major decisions. They ask friends what they think about a new haircut, seek approval before pursuing a different career, or modify their personality to fit in with different groups. This constant need for permission and validation is so normal that people don't realize they're doing it. Sigma males make decisions about their own lives without conducting surveys or seeking approval from others. If they want to change careers, they research and decide for themselves. If they want to move to a different city, they don't need a committee to tell them it's okay. If they want to pursue an unusual hobby, they just do it without worrying about what anyone thinks. This self-authorization intimidates people who are used to making decisions by consensus. The Sigma's independence makes them realize how much control they've given other people over their personal decisions. The most uncomfortable part is watching someone live authentically without apology or explanation. While others are modifying themselves to fit social expectations, Sigma males are just being themselves regardless of whether it's popular or understood. They don't rebel against social norms dramatically, they just ignore the ones that don't make sense for their lives. This quiet authenticity makes everyone else's people-pleasing and approval-seeking behavior look obvious and exhausting. The Sigma isn't trying to make anyone feel inauthentic, but his natural self-acceptance highlights how much energy everyone else spends trying to be someone they're not. Number 5. They're comfortable standing alone, not lonely. There's a huge difference between being alone and being lonely, but most people can't tell them apart. They assume anyone who spends time by themselves must be sad, isolated, or struggling socially. The idea of choosing solitude over social activity seems impossible because being alone feels like punishment or failure. Sigma males understand solitude as a luxury, not a burden. They enjoy their own thoughts, appreciate quiet time to recharge, and don't feel the need to fill every moment with social activity. When everyone else is making weekend plans to avoid being alone, these men are looking forward to having time to themselves. This isn't about being antisocial or avoiding people. It's about genuinely enjoying their own company. This comfort with solitude makes socially dependent people incredibly uncomfortable. They can't understand how someone could choose to be alone when they could be with others. What's really intimidating is how peaceful Sigma males seem compared to people who are always busy with social activities. While others are exhausted from constant social obligations and drama, Sigmas appear rested and centered. They're not running from loneliness or trying to prove their social worth. They're just comfortable being themselves, whether anyone else is around or not. This natural peace makes everyone else's social anxiety and need for constant validation look frantic and desperate. Number 6. They make manipulation almost impossible. Manipulation works because most people have predictable emotional triggers. Guilt trips work on people who hate disappointing others. Flattery works on people who crave validation. Threats work on people who fear conflict or rejection. Manipulators study these patterns and exploit them to get what they want. But Sigma males operate differently. They make decisions based on logic and their own values, rather than emotional manipulation. When someone tries to guilt trip them, they evaluate whether they've actually done something wrong rather than just feeling bad. When someone flatters them, they consider the source and motivation rather than soaking up the praise. When someone threatens them socially, they weigh whether they truly care about the consequences. This immunity to manipulation makes manipulative people extremely uncomfortable because their usual tactics become useless. They're forced to either make honest requests, which feels vulnerable, or find someone else to manipulate, which means admitting defeat. The Sigma isn't actively fighting manipulation. He's just naturally resistant to it. What's really unsettling for manipulators is how obvious their tactics become when they don't work. When guilt trips bounce off someone who has nothing to feel guilty about, the manipulation attempt looks pathetic and desperate. Other people start noticing these patterns too, and suddenly the manipulator's behavior becomes transparent to everyone. The Sigma has accidentally exposed manipulation tactics simply by not responding to them, making it harder for manipulators to use those same tricks on others in the group. Number 7. Their independence is magnetic and rare. Most people are terrified of being alone or left out. They make social plans to avoid empty weekends, stay in bad relationships to avoid being single, and keep jobs they hate to avoid uncertainty. The fear of isolation drives so many decisions that independence becomes almost impossible to imagine. Then people meet a Sigma who genuinely enjoys his own company and doesn't seem to need anyone else to feel complete. The Sigma has hobbies he pursues alone and makes major life decisions without consulting a committee of friends and family. He's not antisocial or unfriendly. He just doesn't need constant social validation to feel secure. This independence is magnetic because it's so rare, but it's also intimidating because it highlights everyone else's dependence. They wonder what it would feel like to make decisions based solely on their own preferences, without worrying about what friends, family, or society might think. The uncomfortable truth is that most people have forgotten who they are underneath all their relationships and social roles. They define themselves through other people's eyes and panic when they're alone with their own thoughts. Seeing someone who is completely comfortable in their own skin makes them realize how much of their identity depends on external validation. The Sigma isn't trying to make anyone feel dependent or weak, but his natural self-sufficiency makes everyone else's need for constant connection look exhausting and insecure. Number 8. They don't tolerate surface-level nonsense. Small talk about the weather, complaining about Monday mornings, gossiping about celebrities, pretending to care about things that don't matter. Most social interactions run on this kind of shallow content because it's safe, easy, and doesn't require anyone to be vulnerable or real. When Sigmas engage in conversations, something immediately feels different. They don't participate in meaningless chatter, not because they think they're better than it, but because it genuinely bores them. If you start complaining about traffic, they might ask if you've considered leaving earlier or taking a different route. If you gossip about someone, they'll probably just stay quiet until the topic changes. This response makes people realize how much of their daily conversation is actually empty noise. They start to feel self-conscious about bringing up trivial topics because they know the Sigma won't engage with fake enthusiasm. The silence that follows shallow comments becomes awkward because most people are used to others playing along with surface-level discussions. The intimidating part isn't that Sigma males judge people for small talk, it's that they naturally steer conversations toward more meaningful territory. They ask questions that require real answers and share thoughts that have actual depth. This forces everyone around them to either step up their conversation game or feel like they have nothing interesting to say. People start avoiding casual interactions with Sigmas because they know they'll need to bring their A game, and that level of authenticity feels risky when you're used to hiding behind safe, meaningless topics. If this hit home or made you think, feel free to subscribe for more content like this. Drop a like if you got something out of it, and let me know your take in the comments. Thanks for hanging out. Stay sharp and keep evolving.